Hi, Chris. I'm more than happy to do this one-on-one with you to go over our camera recommendations, best practices. And today we're going to go over some of the things that are very important regarding that, such as FERPA, which is the federal privacy law that affects all of our students and recording materials. We're going to talk about the regulations regarding the protection of student information and privacy, best practices, and how to comply with FERPA, and when it comes to recording consent, how to record your meetings, and where to host them. We'll also go over proper online behaviors and etiquette, and also how and when you should accommodate DSP&S students in an online setting. And then finally, after this, we'll end it with a questions panel. So for any other unanswered questions or any other things that anybody has to ask, we'll answer it then and there. So moving on, we're going to talk about the Family and Educational Rights and Privacy Act, otherwise known as FERPA. So what does it mean? It is a federal law introduced in 1974 that protects the privacy of students' education records. The law applies to all schools that receive funds under an applicable program of the United States Department of Education, which includes higher education institutions like ourselves at the SDCCD. So many of us run the risk of violating FERPA when we record class lectures, especially how we host or post these recordings and sharing them to students. For example, recording a class session without notifying students or without their consent is a violation. If your recording captures a student's camera and background, this could be a leak of personal information and a risk of violation. Another possible violation would be sharing or accidentally leaking student grades or roster records to the public, which again is a FERPA violation. So now that we're talking about how we can violate FERPA, we can get a little bit more in depth into it. So how can I violate FERPA? So as FERPA details it, a violation can occur whenever a student's personal identifiable information, otherwise known as PII, has been improperly disclosed without written consent. And as you can see on the right, we have some examples of what PII entails and the type of information that could be disclosed during a Zoom meeting. Not necessarily this is the information that could be leaked in a Zoom meeting, but
Mhm.
it's very important to understand that this is what PII entails, and you should just be at least mindful of it. So
Okay.
as we noted, improper recordings that include a student's alias, name, and background could be liable for a FERPA violation. This is by far the most common violation of FERPA, but we should still be mindful when we're sharing our screens to students, as possible leaks of student grades or roster information is a serious violation as well. So in the next slide, we'll discuss some examples of PII disclosures and later talk about best practices and how to avoid these violations. All right, so now we're going to move over and talk about some examples of some PII disclosures that can happen that's very common for instructors. So the first example I'm going to talk about is the one on the left. And as you can see, this is a gallery view recording of a Zoom session. So in this example, you can see that we can see student faces, backgrounds, and even names, and the list of all the students' names on the left-hand side of the example on the left. So as we went over, possible violations include aliases, uh, names, and any other type of identifiable information that could be present in the background of these individuals. In my second example, the one on the image on the right, we can see that this is a video hosted on YouTube. So this is a class session. We can see clearly student faces. Uh, Thankfully, names are not available, but again, that this is on a public website that anybody can view. And this is a very big violation of FERPA if all of these students were not, who had, if all these students did not consent or even gave notice that they agreed to have this video posted on YouTube. So moving on, so what are the possible consequences that could happen for some of these violations that we went over? A FERPA violation can occur whenever a student's information is leaked or accidentally displayed during a recorded meeting or a webinar. Students have the right to file a complaint with the Department of Education regarding this breach of FERPA, usually within 180 days when the information was leaked. This could result in a larger investigation and the school administration will be involved. The end result could have your recorded meeting taken down until the student's PII disclosure is edited out or removed. So now that we understand how a violation can occur and what are the consequences for a violation, we can now ask ourselves, how do I comply with FERPA? So here are a few recommendations that we have to offer, and that starts with notifying students of the FERPA rights in the course syllabus, or at least in the first class meeting. Going over that, you'll be recording class meetings and they'll be accessible via Canvas Studio or YouTube, or how you're going to be sharing it that way. Next would be obtaining written consent for recordings for your students. This can be attained through a Canvas quiz, assignment, a Google form, email, or any type of written communication with the student. Next would be alerting students before recording lectures and informing them to turn off their cameras, change their names before starting the recording to avoid any PII disclosures. Next, it would be to change your recording settings to only allow the speaker and the shared screen to be recorded to ensure that there are no types of PII disclosures for your students, especially to avoid recording the gallery view. And finally, host your recorded videos on a secure, password protected platform that's not publicly accessible. So an example syllabus with notifications for recording policies and student FERPA rights will be available on the camera recommendation website that will be linked at the end of the slide deck. Also, written consent should be kept for as long as the recording is used for the duration of the class. Do you have any questions regarding this content, Chris?
Yeah, I understand this process, and that's a good your example here as far as the step-by-step process works, but I'm kind of stuck on the alert phase. What happens at the alert phase once a student says, hey, you know what, I do not want to be recorded. I'm kind of frozen. Does that stop my live stream right there? What can I
Uh,
do?
So that's a really great question, and we always want to be mindful for a student's right to privacy, especially if they do not want to consent to be recorded. So some of the steps that you should take would be to instruct a student to turn off their camera before any type of live or recorded class meeting, changing their name to student one, student two, or any type of appropriate name that you and the student have agreed to, and avoiding any type of avatar or profile picture that could identify the student or that can be used, and all of this can be used to prevent any unintentional PII disclosures. We also recommend that you should plan out your class meetings and then pausing recordings for any interactive discussions or questions is highly encouraged to avoid these PII disclosures.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No problem. And thank you for asking that consent question, because we're going to go into more depth into that in the next slide, especially with student consent for recordings. So as I said earlier, consent can be obtained through Google Forms, Canvas assignments, Canvas quizzes, or any type of written communication between you and the student. And speaking of a Canvas assignment or Canvas quiz, we do have a template for that on Canvas Commons that will allow you, the instructor, to easily download this Canvas template into your course and then use it to get consent from your students. You have any questions regarding this content?
What if once I start the recording session that I fail to, going back to that kind of like that alert step, what if I fail to alert students that I'm actually recording, and then by the end, a student files a complaint after the session has been concluded? What are the repercussions?
Great question. We're not perfect. We're all human, and we're bound to make a mistake here and there. So in the case where you have forgotten to notify your students that a recording will take place for this session, as long as you have notified the student in the syllabus or in a past class meeting that the meetings will be recorded and giving them notice of that, or if they've already consented in the past, then you're not liable for a FERPA violation. However, if you have never notified a student that you'll be recording the meetings, you did not get their consent, or there's no place in your class syllabus or anywhere in your online course that you'll be recording them, that is grounds for a FERPA violation, and a formal investigation from the United States Department of Education could be created, and then that could involve the school administration, your dean, your department chair, and eventually your video of that recording could be removed until that student's personal information has been edited or removed.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course, no problem. So speaking of that, we also included a little PowerPoints with a couple slides going over class meetings and how to notify your students. So this PowerPoint will be available on the website with camera recommendations, and that's going to be linked at the end of this presentation as well. And this basically will give your students instructions on how to prevent any PI disclosures during any synchronous meetings in Zoom, going into depth on how to turn off their cameras, how to use chat, and how to change your names in Zoom to avoid having that information leaked or disclosed unwillingly. Have you any questions regarding this, Chris?
This makes sense, and I understand the importance of it. I guess my only concern is when students turn off their camera. Again, I understand the privacy issues and concerns, and I totally respect that. But how do I know that it's once a student turns off their camera, how do I know that they're actually participating in my course?
Fantastic question. Like, I understand how disheartening it could be just talking to a bunch of blank screens with no type of communication with your students to see if they understand anything. But we recommend that for these live sessions that you can use the Zoom polling features to make a more engaging session, to ask questions, knowledge checks, and this way you can communicate with your students while lecturing at the same time in order to get that feedback and that interaction. We also recommend that you can also set periods for discussions and questions during your class meetings to facilitate these interactions that are not recorded. Regarding for asynchronous classes where you're just recording content and pushing out to students, we recommend using Canvas video quizzes, and that can make lectures more engaging for students, and that'll have, again, series of knowledge checks, questions, multiple choice questions, anything like that, and materials and a how-to video regarding how to make these Canvas video quizzes is available on the on-demand website, which again is linked at the end of this presentation.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, moving on, we're going to talk about how to properly record your class meetings. Step one is to notify students that you'll be recording the class meeting, and then you'll give them an opportunity to turn off their cameras, change their screen names, and so on and so forth. Next, you want to change your Zoom settings so that only the speaker and the shared screen is recorded. And then plan your class meetings and set aside a period for class discussions or questions that you can pause the recording for and then resume afterwards. Planning out your Zoom meetings and setting specific recording periods for lecture content is one of the best ways to ensure compliance with FERPA. Notifying students to hide their PII when recording and set regular or even scheduled class meetings solely for student interactions and questions is also a great alternative. I just want to emphasize the importance of planning out your course meetings ahead of time and taking measures to prevent any PII disclosures before they can become an issue in the future. So now we went over that. Let's talk about how and where to host your recordings. Currently, we recommend hosting your recorded content on the platforms such as Canvas Studio, Reese Media, and YouTube. We highly recommend using Canvas Studio as it is already integrated with the Canvas LMS, and the automated transcription they provide is very helpful to our instructors when they need to caption their videos. A video tutorial from Dave Giberson going over how to upload and host your content on each of these platforms will be linked at the end of this presentation. Do you have any questions about this, Chris?
One thing I'm concerned about is, I mean, for as easy it is for me to record these videos and post them online, it's just as easy for these students to record these meetings and post them online as well. What happens if I find out that a student has recorded my lecture and shared it online?
So first of which, students are not allowed to record any type of class meetings without an authorized DSPNS accommodation letter. So instructors should tell students that they may not record any class sessions. Students who violate this may be subject to the Student Code of Conduct for disrupting class and a breach of FERPA policies, especially if this is included in the syllabus. It's more likely that students will respect your instructions in this regard if you model informed consent before recording them or requiring them to turn on their cameras. Did that answer your question, Chris?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
No problem. So now that we're talking about more along the student behavior, let's talk about netiquette. And we are very excited to announce our new netiquette webpage that will cover proper student behavior in an online setting. Topics that will be covered include setting up expectations that class meeting behavior should be professional and courteous, camera and background recommendations, communication policies, software usage, and extensive information regarding student rights and their responsibilities. For more information, this website will be available at the end of the slide deck with links and resources to this page. All right, now we're going to move on to our DSPNS student accommodations. Please know that not all of your live class meetings will need to be live captioned. This will only be required if a student with an authorized DSPNS accommodation letter is present in your course. For all pre-recorded meetings or videos that you share with your students, these videos will need to be captioned in order to be compliant with Section 508.
Okay, so I just want to step in and clarify something here. Okay, so the session we are doing right now is a live session.
Yes.
I don't have any DSPS requirement accommodations needed, nor are there anyone else in this session that needs any requirements. I'm the only one that's in it. So this session that we're doing live does not need to be captioned, correct?
Correct. We do not need live captionings for the session as there is no present DSPNS student with that accommodation letter.
However, you are recording this for instructional purposes. So when you are ready to share this recording out to the public, that recording in and of itself needs to be captioned. I just want to make sure I understand that.
That is correct. So once I finish recording this video, when I post it to the public or I share it to a student, this video will need to be captioned.
Okay, so fine. So I'll end on this question. So when a student does come to me with a DSPS accommodation that dictates that my online session, my live session, does need to be captioned, how do I caption a live session?
Currently, Zoom has a feature that allows live class sessions to be captioned on the spot, and that could be used to accommodate that student. There's also a method of using a Microsoft PowerPoint and using the dictation from that software to also provide live captions for your students. These examples are present on the on-demand website, which is going to be linked at the end of the slide deck. And
okay,
also,
perfect. Thank you.
no worries. And also note that we recommend using Canvas Studio and YouTube for pre-recorded videos to host them, as they offer free automated transcription that'll make life a lot easier for instructors who will need to caption all of their pre-recorded videos.
Okay, good.
All right. So now that we've covered these topics and principles, and I've shown you how to set these settings, I want to test your knowledge and see if you can complete the following exercises. The first step is to see if you can properly select the required Zoom settings for your online sessions.
Open up a web browser and go to conferzoom.org. Click on the sign-in link located in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Log in into your account. Click on the Settings link and make sure you are on the Meetings tab. Make sure that the option Mute All Participants when they join a meeting is enabled. Disable participants' video. Enable Hide Participants' Profile Pictures in a meeting. Enable Allow Participants to rename themselves. At the top of the page, click on the Recordings tab. Enable Record Active Speaker with Shared Screen. Disable Record Gallery View with Shared Screen. Then click the Save button to save your changes. Enable Recording Disclaimer and make sure that Ask Participants for Consent when a recording starts is also enabled. Then click the Save button to save your changes. The final step is to enable multiple audio notifications of recorded meeting.
Great work, Chris. Now let's move on and see if you can import the permission to reuse consent form from the Canvas Commons.
Make sure you are logged into your SDCCD Canvas account at sdccd.instructure.com. Refer to the global navigation menu and click on the Commons icon. Search for Permission to Reuse Online Course Recordings, then click on the title to open it. Refer to the right-hand column and click on the blue Import Download button. Select the courses where you want to import the Permission to Reuse assignment. Click Import to Course. Go back to the Canvas dashboard and select the related course. You will find the Permission to Reuse assignment in the Assignments section. We recommend adding the Permissions assignment to the most recent module that contains information about your upcoming online session that you plan to record. To continue, click on Modules. Locate the related module and click on the plus icon located in the right-hand corner of the module. Make sure that assignment is selected within the drop-down menu. The next step is to select the Permission to Reuse assignment and then click Add Item. Once the assignment has been added to your module, feel free to rearrange and edit the assignment settings as you see fit.
You're doing fantastic, Chris. The final test is to see how you would utilize the recording notifications template to properly alert your students that you're about to record your online session.
Hello, class. Just want to let you know that this meeting that we are about to have will be recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, please do the following. Number 1, change your screen name. Number 2, turn off your video or your webcam. And number 3, mute yourself and use the chat feature within Zoom. Keep in mind that this video will be posted in our Canvas course announcements, and I ask that you please do not share or record this class meeting. Going over some specific Zoom settings, how do you change your name in Zoom? Number 1, you want to click the participants icon to access your meeting settings. So as you can see here in this top right-hand corner, you will see the bottom toolbar here, and there is a participants icon. You can click that icon to access your meeting settings. Next, you want to select the More button that will give you an option to rename yourself. And then number 3, enter in an appropriate new screen name for the context of this session. It could be John Doe, Jane Doe, or student 1, 2, or 3. And then once you click the OK button, your changes will be saved and your new screen name will appear just like in this example here in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide. How do you turn your camera, your webcam on or off? Again, if you refer to the bottom part of the Zoom toolbar, you will see a video icon, or video camera icon, and it says stop video. If you click on this video camera icon, you will stop your video. And then how do you mute your microphone and use Zoom chat? You can, again, referring to the Zoom toolbar at the bottom, at the very bottom of the screen. If you refer to the left-hand corner, you will see a microphone icon. If you click that microphone, you will be muted. And then over here in the middle of the toolbar, to the left of the share screen button, you will see the chat feature. If you click on that chat feature or that chat icon, a new side window will appear, and you can use the chat function there to participate in the course.
Chris, you've clearly shown that you understand the concepts covered in our one-on-one session. Here are some links and resources that will be available for you for future reference. These resources can be found on our camera recommendations page at bit.ly/stccd camera recommendations. It has been a pleasure working with you today, and please let me know if you have any additional questions about what we covered.
Thank you for your help, Peter. It's been greatly appreciated.
No problem. Let me know if you have any other questions, and have a great day, Chris. Thank you.